I wanted to give you a really quick breeder buck review, and these deer that I'm going to be talking about, these breeder bucks, every one of them is bucks that I've got to see 2 or 3 times during the course of the growing season. Deer that I got to see in person, do a lot of filming of and editing of, and these are my favorites. And I guess my disclaimer about this video is, as of this moment right here, all these deer that I'm going to talk about, they're all alive, they're all doing well. The semen's going to be collected. You know, in our industry, that changes really fast, but right now these deer are still alive. Let's get started. I decided I wanted to leave out the yearling bucks that I filmed this year. There were so many really big yearling bucks, great yearling bucks with really good pedigrees. If you want to see the yearling videos that we have, just go to our website. They're all listed right there. But let's start out with some big 2-year-olds. One of my favorite 2-year-olds of this year was a buck called So Fine up at the Bone Factory. You've got Blue Chip over Express, over Shadow, over Bucky. So Fine, he's a deer that's he's bigger in person than he looks on video. He's got that gorgeous frame, that gorgeous look, going back to Shadow. So Fine, he's an awesome looking buck. Over at Divine, I really like a buck he called Landmark. Once again, you got Freeze Frame Express 2028 over FedEx's Mom. Landmark, he's just that big frame, that really cool, typical look. I really like Landmark. Over at High Roller, I really liked a deer that they called Trigger Man. And once again, you got Express on Easy Does It, Free Agent on Dr. D. Trigger Man, those drop tines, he's got that wide spread. He was just a really cool looking deer. I really liked old Trigger Man. Another buck at High Roller that my eyes kept going back to is a buck he called Gravity. You got Triple Crown, Kid Rock, Easy Does It over Moab. Gravity, he was a buck that I kept turning the camera back on, trying to get good footage of. I really liked his look. I really liked that really unique frame that he had. But my favorite 2-year-old breeder of this year had to be, hands down, was Solid Gold. Solid Gold, you're looking at Kid Rock on Express on 727. Solid Gold is a buck that he's just as big in person as he looks on film. Divine, they're doing an awesome job of growing those big breeder bucks over there. You may want to check out Solid Gold. Let's check out some of my favorite 3-year-olds. Over at Wilkes Whitetails, they had a buck they called Blindside. I filmed Blindside towards the end of July. He was still growing out, but really a really cool looking deer. Even in July, you got Southern Express over Hardcore over Reno. You may want to check out Blindside if you like that pedigree. I really like Text over at High Roller this year. When I went in the pens the first time to film Text, James told me he had a 3-year-old that he was going to breed with, and he got Freeze Frame on Express, on Bambi 727 back on Nitro. Text had those long main beams, those long tines. I really like those main beams though that come swirl back in together, swoop back in together. Just such a cool, really big frame deer. I really like Text. Vegas obviously was a really awesome looking deer. When you have 60 or 70 or 80 deer in your 3-year-old buck pen, and you've got a buck that stands out with all those bucks, now that was Vegas. Vegas had that really cool look. Those tines went out wide and those long beams, and Vegas was a really cool deer to see in person. 30 Below. 30 Below is just such a cool deer with an awesome pedigree. You got Freeze Frame back on G-Hammer, on Tasha. 30 Below, he's an awesome deer. I'm gonna breed with 30 Below this year. I really liked him. But my favorite 3-year-old breeder buck of the year is Wyatt Earp, hands down. I really liked the way he looked. I really like his pedigree. Wyatt Earp, he's the buck that he's bigger in person than he looks on video. You've got Southern Express on Ranger, on Shadow, back on Blue 37. That's a solid pedigree, just probably one of the best pedigrees going. He's an awesome deer. I guess he's probably 34, 35 inch inside spread. He's gonna be one of those deer that you're gonna wanna see at the winter sales, at the winter trade shows where you can see him mounted. You can get your hands on his cutoffs, get your hands on that mount. He's one of those deer, he's gonna choke you down. Wyatt Earp, he's a beautiful, beautiful deer. When I go around to these deer farms, I always get asked about the previous year's breeder bucks, the bucks that were really highlighted back in 2016. What do they look like now in 2017? How are they doing? Let's do a quick review. In 2016, we were introduced to Mr. Awesome. Mr. Awesome was a really cool deer to see in person. He had to be cut early, he was growing out good. He's a deer that you want to keep on your radar going forward. He's an awesome looking deer with a great pedigree. Everybody asked me about Big Sur and Horsepower. Those two deer, they covered a lot of does. They're still big. You can't go wrong with Big Sur and Horsepower. Horsepower still had those super long tines. I saw him so many times. He just didn't have the spread. Obviously, you hear everybody that talks about breeding deer where they breed the spread out of them, and Horsepower was work. That's what he's there for, to breed those. Big Sur the same way. Big Sur's big. I bred with Big Sur. I really like him. Another deer that you got to keep on your radar is Sunrise. Sunrise was cut early. Sunrise is probably one of the prettiest deer, the best frame looking deer that I've ever filmed. He's a gorgeous deer to see in person if you've never seen him in person. Just because he wasn't pushed or shown this year, don't forget about Sunrise. I really like him. Another deer that I really liked back in 2016 that had to be cut early was Freeze Brand. Freeze Brand was huge. He's got that great pedigree. I was at Billy's and Billy grabbed him out of the freezer and took a picture there with me. I was standing there and got to hold Freeze Brand's cutoffs. And this was back mid-July, early to mid-July, and he was just a freak. He was going to grow out so big. You may want to keep Freeze Brand on your radar. And another deer that you really need to keep on your radar that I really like, he's a big 4-year-old right now, is Pedigree. One of his hoofs was damaged and Billy had to doctor him, and I saw Pedigree so many times and we never did film him, but he is huge. His body size is unbelievable. He's wide, he's tall, he's just an awesome deer to see in person, and for sure a deer to keep on your radar. What about some older bucks that are still alive, that are great producers? Let me remind you about some of these big bucks that I got to look at this year. When I'm talking about an older buck, I'm putting him in a 4-year-old class and older. I got to see Wicked Stickers over at Antler Ranch. He's a big 4-year-old. He was really big at 3, bigger at 4. He's got it all. He's got that spread, got those main beams, got the tall tines. He's just a really cool deer to see in person. Wicked Stickers over at Antler Ranch. Don't forget about Kid Rock. Kid Rock has been around for a while. His reputation, what he produces speaks for itself. Kid Rock is still alive. I'm assuming there's a lot of semen available. I'm assuming they still collect Kid Rock. Don't forget about Kid Rock in your breeding program. Jesse James. I got to look at Jesse James a couple of different times. He's an 8-year-old deer this year. He's a cool deer to see in person. He's big, he produces. He's an awesome older buck that's still in our industry. Don't forget about Gunslinger, a big 4-year-old. We had all the intentions of highlighting Gunslinger for this year. I went down and I filmed him at the end of July. We were going back to film him to make a breeder buck review on Gunslinger, but the hurricane caught up with us. Down there at Tejada, the hurricane stopped us from filming him, but he's an awesome deer. There's nothing wrong with Gunslinger. As far as I know today, everything's good with him. You know about Triple Crown, just saying Triple Crown speaks for itself. He's still big. He's an awesome deer to put in your breeding program. What about a buck called Blue Chip? We all know about Blue Chip, how he produces. He's still alive, he's still healthy. They still collect from Blue Chip. You might want to add him. Another older deer that you might want to add to some of your does is a buck called Dynamite. Dynamite was one of my favorite bucks this year to film. He's huge, got that huge body. He's just a monster deer. Got a really cool pedigree. You may want to check out Dynamite. Another older buck that kind of gets lost in the shuffle is Masterpiece. Masterpiece was one of my favorite yearlings of all time. He was a huge 2-year-old, a 3-year-old that they had to cut Masterpiece. This year, Masterpiece is 4. He had some issues with his back, and Billy got him doctored up, and I saw him grow out a couple different times this year, was in the pen with him. He's big, he still has those huge tall brow tines, he's got that really pretty frame. Don't forget about Masterpiece in your breeding program. But obviously, I'm kind of saving the best for last. The biggest buck that I've ever filmed, the biggest breeder buck that I've ever seen in person, hands down, is Have Mercy. He is as big as advertised. He is as big as he looks on film. You've seen a lot of footage of Have Mercy. You might want to check out Have Mercy if you like everything big. He's a great deer. I hope you liked this breeder buck review. I know I went really fast, and all the full-length videos of these deer, all of them are on our website at deerfarmingtv.com. If you want email notifications of when we release a video, just register on our website and we'll put you on in our email database. Thanks for watching. Good luck this year in your AI program. Let's keep everybody in our prayers, all the vets and everybody that's traveling, the FedEx drivers and UPS drivers that are shipping this semen around. Y'all have a great breeding program, and we'll see you at the deer sales.